Dari, hello. It's the middle of June 2020 and today's topic is living in a tiny house. Now you may know that Marcus and Agatha have a couple of years ago relocated from our previous home of several decades, which was Lausanne, Switzerland, back to, I guess, Marcus's more usual home, which would be in England. We currently live in Warwickshire, England, in a rather small home. And unlike the sets of videos I'm going to point to in a second, this is just a tiny segment about living in a small home, and about a lovely optimisation which I only found out about yesterday and I thought was worth sharing. So what you see in front of you is my sit-up area and my latest optimisation. So let's start from the beginning, and this is what I previously optimised my sit-up machine to, which was a sit-up machine and then a ball to put my legs onto and an IKEA mat. The IKEA mats are available in two different colours, and we've had one before, and this is the second generation since the other one literally wore out. So it's actually my yoga mat and it's my sit-up mat as well. So if we go for a yoga session, I'll be taking that with me, but when it comes home, the idea is I'll do my sit-ups on it. Now, optimisation one, or starting point, was that the mat was fully laid out. I put the sit-up machine on top of it, the ball underneath my legs, and I do my sit-ups. And then I realised that I didn't actually need the entire length of the mat. So as you can see behind the machine, I've just slightly shortened the mat, and that made for a good use of this room, because this room is my study, or our study, Marcus and Agatha's study. And then yesterday I found out something even more amazing, which is that after sit-ups, instead of putting the sit-up machine away, I can just do this. How amazing is that? So now the sit-up machine can remain where it is, in situ, it doesn't need to be moved, and I can have it always ready. As you may know, I've had some physical problems for the last 12 months, and part of the recuperation therapy is to do sit-ups and a variety of other exercises that have been recommended by a whole set of doctors. So yeah, it's brilliant. And now we come on to living in a tiny house. So I think, as a relativist, living in a tiny house is a potentially joyful experience, and I will point everyone to a YouTube channel at the end of this dialogue, where you can see many of the videos of houses typically in Australia or New Zealand, where tiny houses are quite a big thing, where people have containers typically who they've converted to tiny homes, and they can live off-grid in quite an economical fashion, which I really admire. We have now a very, very small house in England. It's all we could really afford, and we're trying to make the best use of the space. So I'm speaking to you from my study, but it's not just a study, it's got a second function, which is as the exercise room. So in front of you, you can see the sit-up machine and a roll. Thirdly, it's the guest bedroom. So where is that? So that is the guest bedroom there. That's a little thing from John Lewis which unpacks to a bed, and if you're not too large a person, you can get two people on that mattress, which unfolds. Thirdly, and where are we? Thirdly, yeah, first a study, second exercise. Thirdly is my spare bed. So fourthly, it is in fact our washing room. And as athletes, we exercise every day, probably for at least 2 hours, and so there's always a large amount of washing that needs to be processed. So that's the fourth function of this single room. And the fifth function is the cat bed. So we have a neighbour's cat that often comes to stay during the evenings or sometimes during the day. And when she's got a bit tired, she snuggles down onto this bed. So we've got a room which has 5 different things. So I'm rather proud of the fact, and it's a great optimisation. But nothing beats finding an extra optimisation that you hadn't previously realised, and the new sit-up machine, which can stay static there, is just great, because with that end up, you see, I can just get round the corner, I can get to the laundry area, so all is well. So that's it really. Living in a tiny house is a constant challenge. Like I say, as a relativist, it's sometimes quite painful. I do notice our neighbours have moved. They weren't happy with their £1.5 million house, so they bought another £1 million house about 30-40 kilometres away. Obviously they didn't need to sell their existing house, which is about 5 times the size of our house, literally 5 times the size in square footage. And when I put things into that kind of perspective, it's a little bit awkward. But anyway, we're here, we've got the space that we have, we make good use of it, and this optimisation has cheered me up no end for today. Thanks for watching, Derry.